You're listening to the Flip Houses Like a Girl podcast, where we educate, empower, and celebrate everyday women who are facing their fears, juggling family and business, embracing their awesomeness, and wholeheartedly chasing their dream of flipping houses. Each episode delivers honest to goodness tools, tips, and strategies you can implement today to get closer to your first or next successful house flip. Here's your spiky-haired, breakfast taco-loving host, house flipping coach, Debbie DeBeery.
Hey, how's it going today? I'm super excited to share this conversation with you that I had with one of our Flip sisters in Arizona. Her name is Courtney, and we debrief her first 4 flips. She made around $320,000 profit on these first 4 flips. And we talk about how she found them, how she financed them. We talk about contractors. We have a really important conversation about contractors and a switch in mindset that a lot of people need to have when it comes to contractors. And then we talk about guilt around making big profits and how we navigate that. We also talk about her aha moment she had around her fear of losing money. So she had a big fear of losing money, and in particular, losing money she borrowed from like private money lenders, right? Friends and family members who want to invest and make a great return on their money. And she was having a hang up around that. So we talk about her big aha moment around that. And we just talk about a lot of good stuff. This is a great conversation. Buckle up. We cover a lot of ground and it's totally worth it. All right. So let's dive in. Let's talk to Courtney. Let's just start with you introducing yourself and giving a little bit of your background and how you arrived at flipping houses.
Okay. Well, so my job, so I've always freelanced. When I was like, I think 22, my now husband and I drove across the country and went to Chicago. And I was like, I'm going to send out a bunch of postcards and see if people hire me. And if not, I'll waitress. And I had a photo degree and I wanted to photo assist. So I sent it to a bunch of photographers and I got lucky. I started working right away. And I've never had a real job, I guess a 9-to-5 job my whole career. And I just found I was kind of understood freelancing and I was into it. So my career, so I started off working on still advertisements and then knew kind of early on, I was like, I don't have the drive to be a photographer. So I started assisting stylists. So I work on kind of larger productions like print advertisements and TV commercials. And my title is I'm the wardrobe stylist. And then I used to sometimes do prop styling as well. So what that means, people hear wardrobe stylist and they think of like Rachel Zoe or being a personal stylist and shopping and making people look cute, but that's not really what I do at all. I'm really it's really a blue collar job. Like I do shop all day, but I'm shopping for 30 people and giving them 20 options. So it's like insane amount of schlepping. I'm basically more of a costume designer. So I kind of, if you see any advertisement, you don't think about it, but like the amount of thought that goes into all the nuances of that outfit to like tell a story. So I'm basically the person, the ad agency comes to me or the director or the producer and they present the concept. And I'm the person that goes and buys all the stuff necessary to make their idea come to life on set for a TV commercial or a print advertisement.
That is super cool. Okay. Is that what you studied in college?
No, I was I had a photo degree. So got it. kind of, but I grew up in a small town. My mom was a teacher for 35 years at the same school. Her first job was her last job. And my dad worked at like managing on like a factory. And I never knew any of this existed, like had no idea.
Yeah.
I surprised looking back, my parents were never like, why are you majoring in photography? Like, you know, so it was just kind of, you know, I feel like I'm like a curious person. So it's just like looked into one thing, which led to another thing, which led to another thing. And that's pretty much my life. Like that's kind of how I get anywhere. So,
Yep.
So yeah, I worked in commercial productions, you call it, for my whole career. And I'm just kind of a hired gun that essentially executes the ad agency's concept. And I've kind of worked with everyone like Nike, Amazon, Adidas, Crate and Barrel. I've done a lot of home stuff. And yeah, so you think a lot about like what goes into a project and what each little thing means. And it's really crazy because, you know, I like when I was sitting with peers at lunch at work, we'd all be like, well, you know, what are we going to do with our life? We have no resumes. We have this super weird niche job. And you're just like, but so, if people leave my industry, they often go to real estate. And I didn't realize how much it translated until we decided to move. I kind of got burnt out in my old job. I like had a post before. You just have no control of your time. It's one of those, like you commit to a project and that project might be 3 weeks away and you don't know who is in charge of that project. So that person might start calling you that day and have 3 requests, even though you're only getting paid for 3 days, 3 weeks from now. And it's just like start. So like, and I was always doing multiple projects at the same time. And once I had kids, it just really got tough because I had no control of my time. And like the request that came at 8:30 when my son had the flu just got harder to manage. Because one thing I never had, I could never just say no. Like I couldn't, like I had to come up with something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we were living in Chicago and we had 2 little kids and it just got kind of tough. So we bought a fixer-upper in Arizona. My husband went to high school here.
Okay.
And my in-laws live here. And it was pretty like, I look back, I'm like, ooh, that was bold because it was like a serious fixer-upper. And I kind of quickly saw, I was like, oh, I feel like I get this in a deep way. Like, and it's because it's the same thing as putting together a production. It's like you have your crew, you have your timeline, you have a budget. You like when you execute things is important on your timeline because you don't want to have to go back on things. And then just like being resourceful, coming up with stuff like, you know, a luxury I never had as a stylist. Like, you know, if you're on say a Nike shoot, you don't, and I'm the person in charge of this key product, like I don't get to show up and be like, yeah, I don't have that. I'm sorry. And the whole thing shuts down. It's like, you don't like, you might not have that exact thing, but you have something. So you're always coming up with solutions. And it's one of those jobs too, where it's just constant fireballs. So like, as far as like the hiccups that you constantly experience with flipping, I don't even really recognize it because I feel like my whole job has just been like if you take the ideal path and you actually get to the finish line, it's like, would you look at that? Like I never expected it to go that smoothly. And that's just kind of the mentality I've always had. So it's like, you know, I just see it more as like being agile and constantly pivoting, you know, it's
totally.
like, and I think you come up with the best stuff when you do that too. I think when you're really focused on the finish line and what something's supposed to be.
Oh, yes.
You lose a lot. You have tunnel vision and you kind of want to like, you know, just like be open at all times and just be like, you know, this this is different than I thought it was going to be, but look at this. I didn't even think of this.
Completely agree. Like just being willing to be open and flexible. That's a big word, right? Be flexible and not be so rigid with how something has to look, or the how of it, right? Or how it comes together. Like, yeah. I can completely see how how long did you do that? You're still doing it. How long?
I'm still doing it. I have a toe in it now, like it's one of those jobs. It's hard because it's such a hard job to get into and to maintain. Like I imagine it's like living in New York. Like you work so hard to live there. It's hard to fully let go because it's like a big part of your identity,
Sure.
So it's like, for me, it's like, different seasons for different reasons. Like I love that job, but I don't feel like it fits my life right now, so it's really hard. It's just hard because it's like, I haven't had a sick day in 20 years, and I have kids now, and sometimes they get sick. In fact, they're always sick. So like
all the time they get sick. How old are your kids?
So 5 and 7.
Okay. Awesome. Let's talk about your first flip as an investment. When did you buy that one?
So I bought that September 30th of 2020.
Okay. So after COVID?
After COVID. So that's kind of like, this was on my radars. As much as I watch HGTV, I never was like, I want to be a flipper. Like I wasn't thinking about it at all. But I kind of, for probably 3 years prior to moving, I was like, I got to figure out a side gig or like figure out something. Cause I just knew I wasn't in the right place and needed a major change. So then the pandemic happened, and then I had time all of a sudden, and I was like, I'm just gonna really explore this. So I started listening to podcasts like crazy. And I was learning a ton, but a lot of the podcasts I was listening to is like, do you want financial freedom? Right. And like, it felt like very like, it was kind of aggro men yelling about freedom. And I wasn't really connecting to it. And I was just like, I was trying to, take bits and pieces of it and apply it. But and then I found your podcast, and I was like, oh my God, you can do this in a way that, you can, because that was one of the things that I was like, you should never pick up a paintbrush. You should always be, like there was one way to do it. Like you're an investor. Yeah. And so it was just nice to hear through your podcast, there's a lot of different things you can do.
Yes.
I think that's the beauty of this, is you can really cater it to your lifestyle. So
100%. That's the beauty of it. Yes. It can look however you want it to look.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah. So my first flip, I actually did a PML through family, and I found this house on the MLS. House is actually the biggest house I've done. There's $5 million houses there, and there's also $300,000 houses. So I found like a cheaper pocket amongst really expensive homes.
Yeah. Nice.
And this home was like, within the cheaper pocket was one of the largest homes on the street, but not necessarily huge for the area. So it was 3,500 square feet. So,
oh, wow. That's so big.
Yeah.
Okay. So you found it on MLS. Well, what did you end up buying it for?
So I bought it for $535.
Okay. And did you say you got all the money through PML, through private lenders? Okay. So how was that? Like, was that hard for you to ask? Was it just like, here's an opportunity. Do you guys want to do this? Or talk to me about that a little bit.
So I was actually talking to my in-laws and just telling them about my, how I was going to go to hard money lenders, and this was the rate. I was just casually talking about it. And they were like, well, why would you do that? You can go through our advisor. They're offering a deal right now where I forget what the rate was, but basically my in-laws did the loan, they did the loan and then I did it through them, but they gave me a rate at 3.5%.
Got it. Yeah.
Low. So they basically financed the house, and then I did the renovation with the HELOC.
Okay. Got it. And how much did the renovation cost?
So
3,500 square foot house.
It was about 120.
Yeah. That's not bad for that size of a house.
Yes. And my biggest mistake with that house was I put too much money in things that I should have done.
Yeah.
Because my background, I get kind of lost in the aesthetics.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
That was the big thing I learned from that one. But as far as like, because I just renovated my house, I did it in a very similar way. I acted as a GC and I did it almost like a photo shoot. Like I kind of was like, all right, this is my top flooring guy. He's not available. So I'm going to move to the next guy. Oh, they're not available. And it was constant pivoting. Like, this is the tile I want. It's not available. So you move to the next one. And it's just, just kind of, but just trying to stick as much as I could to the budget and the timeline.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Were there any major surprises on that one?
I mean, not beyond like just the havoc of COVID.
Yes. Right.
And my husband almost lost his finger because we tried to move a vanity.
Oh, geez. Oh gosh. Oh God.
Yeah, that was a moment of, oh no. But and then the weekend we put the house on the market, it was like the first time it rained in like 11 months. And it was like the first time it like snowed, like it was cold and rainy.
Oh God.
And then on top of that, I was actually at the time using my husband's aunt as my realtor, and her laptop got stolen from her car right before she was supposed to list. And like, so it didn't post when I hoped it would post. And there was some things like looking back, it's like, I should have waited another week to put it up. That was there was a couple of things like, that I feel like, because I was really proud of the house, which was the good part. Like I was kind of like, I just wish more people got to see it because it was just a dismal weekend here. But I sold it the first weekend, and I sold it at 745, I believe.
Is that what you were thinking? Is that what your ARV was initially, or did it go up just because?
So I kind of ended up, my budget went up, but then I also was like, because I'm putting more expensive stuff in, I knew it could appraise for more. So that went up too. So I put it on the market at 750 and I sold it at 745.
Okay, awesome. And that was a total of how long from purchase to sale?
Purchase to sale was just over 4 months.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great. During that time of COVID.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. What did your profit end up being on that one?
I made $48,000.
Nice.
So yeah.
You paid off your in-laws and they were like, I'll do that again. Or no.
Well, for me, like the anxiety was like, I can't lose people I know's money. Like, so I almost rather use hard money because it felt, and I just like didn't want to disappoint, like I was just, I just wanted to make sure, God forbid, like I wouldn't lose money. But then like looking now, I know you just want to make sure. And I learned this from your program because I didn't join your program until my third house. So like now I know, like I always buy no HOA because I have different exit strategies.
Yes.
And I think about it as the same as the stock market. Like you don't lose money unless you sell when it's low. So it's like, you just hold on to it until, so you're like, the fear of losing money, like as long as you have exit strategies,
Exactly.
it shouldn't be there. That's not,
That's exactly the point of having different ways out.
yeah.
Okay. So the first one happens and you're like, oh my gosh, that was kind of easy and that was fun. Is that what you were thinking, or what were you thinking?
Yeah. I mean, I loved it in such a deep way. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like I just felt in the zone like the whole time. And like my husband really saw it too. He was just like, you're just like a happy person. Like I've always struggled with insomnia. But like when I'm really into something, it's like I don't need it. I sleep really hard and then I'm like, good. And I'm like, I could sleep 6 hours and I bolt out of bed because I was super excited to go to the house and just
I totally relate.
Yeah. Where if I'm not into something, it's like I wake up at 2 and my brain's spinning and I'm just and then I always just that's how I knew my job wasn't really working anymore. Cause I was like, oh, it's not normal at noon to like be thinking about how to pack up for the end of the day.
This might be a sign.
Yeah. And I just felt like tired, like all the time, but when you're excited about something, you have boundless energy.
Yes.
So
totally.
I just was, and it was really cool for me because I've always worked in a creative field, but I've always designed for other people. Yeah. So I think like one of the funnest thing was to work on a big project and then like to see what I could do. Cause I didn't even know what I could do. Cause I like have been doing it for everyone else for 20 years. So
totally. Yeah.
That was really satisfying to be like, oh, like I picked up all those things from working next to the best people at Crate and Barrel, and like I can actually knock this out. So that was cool. And then my second house. So I'm pretty specific on the type of houses I try to find. Mm-hmm. So my grandparents lived in the same house for 70 years. And my grandma was the type of person, like, she like ironed her pillowcases
and like she did.
Of course wouldn't touch her iPad, use a stylus to touch her iPad.
Of course. Like the lady doesn't touch the iPad.
So I try to find houses like their house where I'm like, if I see that you maintained a kitchen for 40 years or 50 years and like that's my perfect house, like something that cosmetically needs an overhaul, but there's just a lot, like it's really well maintained. So
we have so much in common. That's my current project. They owned the house for 52 years, original owners, like everything was original, but he piddled around and he caulked things and he sealed things and he did, right? I love it. Yes. Yeah. You can feel the love when you walk into those houses. You feel the love. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So my next house, it was like, I saw it and I was like, oh my God, like it was original 1978 kitchen. And I love the things that a lot of Arizonans find dated. I find really charming because I'm new here and I'm like, oh, beehive fireplace, Satio tile, like right.
Yeah,
weird glass atrium in the master, like perfect.
Right. So awesome.
Yeah. So and this is really before too, like I knew the margins I needed to flip, but I definitely have honed in on that better. Like looking back at this house, I was like, whoa, that was a risk. Like, now I wouldn't have jumped on it. But I wrote the woman a letter and I found out after it was her grandparents' house. She was the realtor. And it was very like symbolic for me because I actually, the week before I bought my first flip, my grandfather died and then my grandmother died right before this one. And they were,
yeah. Oh, that's so hard. I'm sorry.
They were like my second, like I saw them, I grew up next to them and like, but my budget for this one was $50K. And
okay,
this is the one where I was like, well, I'm just going to learn how to tile. And like, I do this, application called Surecrete, where I like do it on the shower walls. It
Oh
almost
yeah,
looks
I remember
like,
that. Mhm.
yeah, it almost looks like a Moroccan finish. I refinished the floors myself. I installed like 1,400 square feet of Saltillo. I was there every day, all day. So that one took same 3 months. It was about 2,100 square feet, and that one was crazy. So I switched realtors because my husband's aunt, she was new to being a realtor too, and she was only here part of the time. And I found this brokerage. It was like a boutique brokerage, and their whole mission is kind of saving older homes. And I don't know, I was following, they're really good on social media. And I was just like, oh, these seem like great people. So I started working with them. And yeah, I actually hosted the open house because I kind of wanted, I take kind of risks with my design, or I know a lot of times with flipping, or a lot of the freedom podcasts I was listening to, it's like, you want to appeal to the masses.
Oh
and
gosh.
or like,
Yeah.
I remember going to get a countertop and the guy's like, well, this is the one everyone's buying and you want everyone to like it. And I was like, no, I don't think I do want
it's about
everyone.
personality.
Yeah.
That's what sets us apart, I think.
So yeah, that one had multiple offers, went the first weekend, and actually there was a bidding war with escalation, and I ended up making 90 on that one.
Nice.
I know I put in 10 times the amount of effort as other flippers because I stage and I do all the things. Like I leave nothing unturned. Like I really do it all. And so it's like, what is that worth? So when I feel kind of weird about the amount of money I get, I'm like, I don't know. It's tricky. But then it's like, it's such a large amount of money. I try to see it as like, it's just going back into this thing that I believe in.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting to talk about profit. It's something that comes up where the Freedom Fighter podcast or whatever, it's a different conversation. Whereas here on this podcast, when we talk about profit, it's like, man, I kind of feel bad. Like I feel a little guilty, or just like, and I think it's that, it's kind of like that servant's guilt, right? Because we have like, we serve people. We are here to serve people. We're not we're not cutting corners. We're not doing shady things. We're actually putting a lot of love and care into these properties and into the people that we work with, and into the sellers and into the buyers. Like we're doing this in a really good way.
Yeah.
But to financially benefit from it is hard for people like us, because it's like, well, I mean, but I'm trying, like, I want us to not feel bad about it. It is what it is, right? Like we are being rewarded for doing good, but it's part of the conversation for sure. Every time.
And it's like, I try to, like, the people I hire, I try to never barter with them. I like the price you tell me, I'm going to pay you. Cause I get that as a freelancer. I really try to treat people like how I wanted to be treated. So and it's like, if you think you deserve that much and I know you're good, of course I'll pay you that.
Yes. There is that mentality of you have to negotiate everything. And it's like,
or just get the lowest price to make money.
Yeah. Get the best deal possible. And even if that means the other person walks away feeling like they lost, it's okay. Cause you squeezed the juice, right? Like you got the best deal, and it just doesn't feel that good to be in that.
No. And I really believe generosity breeds generosity.
Same. Yeah.
A big thing I learned dealing with contractors there, and I used to be like, this is what I'm looking for, or this is what I want, and not really knowing how to get there. Cause I didn't really, like most people, you don't understand the underbelly of a house. You just have this idea.
Right.
But now I've changed my approach, and I found it to be so much better to be like really collaborative.
Yes.
Be like, this is what I was thinking. What do you think? And it's like
every time. Yes.
And that also, like, it makes them feel respected and trusted.
Exactly.
And that brings out the best work of anyone. Like, I know that as a freelancer, the jobs that I disliked was the ones where I felt like I was being micromanaged and they were questioning every little thing I did. And I'm like, you guys hired me. Why did you hire me? So I'm the same way with my subs. I'm like, you do this every day. Why would I think like it should be done a different way? Like, I hired you because I trust you. So yeah, that was huge. Like, understanding that is really what kind of opened this world to me too. Like working as like a team and making it truly collaborative. And that's always just been my dream in general. It's like, I just want to work with friends. Like, I just want to, and I want us, you know, when the tide rises, we all rise, and like we can all do well.
Yeah,
And like
exactly.
that's the goal. So it's like, and I really respect, I find everything they do so cool and interesting. Like, my main key contractor, I'm like, how do you know how to do that? Like, how did you get to that? And he's like a MacGyver. He can figure out anything. And I'm just like, I don't know. I have such respect for those people. Even painting, it's like people think, oh, I can paint a wall. But it's like, when you like my main painter, he's such a craftsman. He's like a true artist where he really takes pride in his work. And I like really admire that.
I think it's such an important part of the conversation because, again, it's kind of like the profit conversation. This is another part that's really important because once we really get that it's a relationship business and we don't have to be combative with our contractors and the people that we work with, and that not everybody's out to screw us.
Yeah.
And right. Like, this whole mindset around contractors is so infuriating to me sometimes because one person, right, having all these bad experiences, it's like, but you're the common denominator.
Exactly. And that's what I realized. I was guilty in Chicago, and it stemmed from being insecure because you realize this is an expensive thing and you don't want to be taking advantage of. I've done the same thing with buying a car. I'm totally guilty of it. It's like you Google a bunch the night before and you take your like 2 hours of knowledge where like suddenly you're the expert.
Yeah.
And this is what I want. And then like, and the being rigid like that and making like, because it's like thinking your ego is going to like control the situation really hurts you. And I've heard in the group too, people talk about assertiveness. Like, I don't want to be a bitch. And it's like you can be really nice and assertive. And that also comes from respecting people. And then in the flip side, they respect you. So like when you say something to them, they know that, you know, you like them and you're not just saying that because you want to control them. Like they already know that you respect them. So building that relationship with someone.
You know, I don't think enough people realize. I was just having a conversation with my HVAC contractor. I've been working with him for like, I don't know, 12 or 13 years. And I was having a conversation with him and he was like, you know, I appreciate you that you're always paying. Like, you're just always paying. You don't question it. You don't take a week. I ask you for payment and you pay it. And I'm like, well, that's how it should be. And he's like, you would think so. But just like people have all these negative things about contractors, we have negative things about some people in the world too, because we can't get paid sometimes, even though we did our job. People just decide that, well, they have control of the money and they're not going to give up that. They're not giving up the money that we're owed. He's like, he was telling me that one person owes like tens of thousands of dollars and they're just choosing not to pay him. And he's like, you know, we're all connected. All of the trades are connected and we all know who pays and who doesn't pay. So the people who are having a hard time finding people who will work for them are generally the ones who have a bad reputation in the contractor world.
And the thing now, it's like the wheel has turned. Like, they're all in such demand right now. They don't need you. They can work for someone else. So like the good people, like they don't have to show up for you. And that doesn't mean that you let them do whatever they want. But like my main guy at the beginning, he was like, there was a couple of times where he was late or just didn't let me know that he couldn't show up. And he's a really shy person. He's actually very similar to my brother. And I recognized that. And I was like, if I yell at this guy because he didn't show up, he's going to like go under something like a cat and hide. And like, but I know how talented and how good he is. So I just said to him, I'm like, I want you to work and I want you to make money. If you're not here, just text me and let me know, because I always keep the ball rolling. I'll never be mad at you because you went and got money from someone and you're working hard. Like I support that. I just want communication so I can keep this going.
Yeah, communication. And, talking to my key contractor the other day, he made a mistake. And I saw it. And he came through later and he wasn't talking about it. And this is somebody new to me. Mm-hmm. And then finally I was like, oh, and hey, I just wanted to check in on that thing over there. And he was like, I'm so sorry. Like real, like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm going to handle it. And I was like, hey, man, mistakes happen. I'm not mad at you. Like, what do we need to do to resolve it? Like, do you need something from me? If you're waiting for something from me, let me know. I don't ever want to hold you up. But that freedom and that space for making mistakes, because we're human.
And like a house, all houses, they're like living, breathing things. Like they're not all the same. So people feel like everyone approaches everything the same, but it's like, you don't know what work was done prior to you. You don't know if like little critters got in there overnight. We have no idea what's happening. So like, it's, mindset again, just like knowing you just got to keep pivoting and like, and give that flexibility to your contractors because they're going to run into stuff too.
Right. And don't make it a space where open communication is okay. Like they can say, I screwed up, and you're not going to come down on them or shame them, because that's what typically happens is they get shamed and they make a mistake. They get shamed, and that doesn't feel good to anybody. So that space of, you can make mistakes. Let's just talk about them. Like, I was like, it's totally fine. Let's just talk about it. Like, what needs to happen? Do you need something from me? Let's keep moving. And he was like, oh my gosh, nobody's ever just like talked to me like that. And I was like, I'm sorry.
But now he'll forever be loyal to you for that thing. Because all of these guys, it's like, I think it's like they could have done a million things with their life, but they want to work in the trades.
Right.
Because they don't want to be talked down to. They don't want to like, and I feel like it's interesting since the pandemic, because it turned and everyone's looking at their house and wants a million things done. And these guys got so busy, and it's like it used to be that like, oh, like I'm giving you money, you got to do what I said. But it's really, a lot of these guys are artists, they're craftsmen, like respect them. And it's also, you're kind of the coach of a team. It's like,
you're the leader.
So it's just, just creating a good team. That's essentially in a good environment where people want to work. Like,
yes.
Yeah. That whole thing has made it much more enjoyable too. Just that shift of like, or just again came from insecurity of my knowledge, like, and then recognizing that, that's huge. It makes it just much more enjoyable.
Yes. It doesn't have to. Yeah. It doesn't, you don't have to be on guard and defensive and assume they're out to screw you. Because honestly, they're just not. And there are ways to protect yourself and to also protect them. Like both parties should be protected.
Yeah.
And both parties should should be treated with respect and
get paid.
And get paid when it's time for them to get paid. Yes. Oh my gosh. That's a big one for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was such an important tangent to take.
Yeah.
Let's get back to flip number 2. When did flip number 2 sell?
So flip number 2 sold, or we closed end of July. And then I got flip number 3 beginning of August. And that one, it was a house on a golf course.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So I think in my head, because the market was crazy at that time, I was like, it's a house on the golf course for $400,000, which here seemed so cheap. I was like, this is crazy. And their agent just like, they did the thing, they listed it without posting photos, and then all the things worked in my advantage. So I didn't have much competition. I got off the MLS. But I goofed on I had a bit of a pie in the sky ARV, where I think, and probably also overconfidence with my last flip, I was like, got in my head a little bit, if I build it, they will come, which doesn't always work. So that one, same thing, 3 months. It was about 2,000 square feet. Crazy cool house. Did the same approach as far as how I GC'd it myself. I staged it myself. I'm always like, a pastime is also just, I'm constantly accumulating vintage furniture and
I love
finishing stuff. So when it came time to put it on the market, my realtor was like at that time, there were not like even close to remodeled homes that in like even the past 6 months, like no homes I've sold on the golf course. So I had no comp. So we had to base it off of houses that look like my house when I bought it, like needed total overhauls. And I think it's because it is a little bit of a cheaper area. So like people there are probably, and I'm seeing this happen more and more, like, because people aren't wanting to move now, because where are you going to go?
Yeah.
And because this is a cheaper pocket, like maybe that's why people are just like, where are we going to go? Like, so I had to list the house at my break even, which was terrifying.
Wait, what did you buy that one for? 400?
Bought it for 400.
And what was the renovation?
I put 65 in.
Okay.
And this one was hard money.
This is going to ask.
And I used my HELOC again. I didn't use any private. And then I listed it at $499.
Okay.
And sold it at $535. I knew it was a really special house. Like it was, I was really proud of it. So I was kind of like, every house, there's something I think I don't have to do. And then the more I'm there, I'm like, I got to do this thing. And I don't know if I'll get my money back, but I'm going to do this thing. Because for me too, it's just as exciting to see what it will look like. So it's like, I want to see how great it can look. And so I fall a little victim to that every time. And I don't know if I feel bad about it.
I think it's what sets them apart. I do.
Yeah.
I think caring more and thinking about it differently than just, I hate this saying, lipstick on a pig, which is what, that was the saying when I first got into flipping. And I was like, I don't jive with that. That's not that's not how I'm going to do things. It feels really gross.
And now listening to so many podcasts, it's like, I get why flipping has gotten a bad name, because everything comes from an investor perspective. And it's more now about like what we can get away with. And we've lost sight of the fact that we're making homes for people, which is their biggest asset. And it's where they spend all their time and make all their memories. And It's like, that's the weight. I feel such responsibility with each house. Like, I don't really have fear with losing money, but I have fear of just like not making the house what it could be like, and not reaching the like or hitting the opportunity right and making it what I knew it could be. So it's like, so yeah, so that house, I got, I think 14 offers on it. So the sale went well and they bought it as is.
So what was the profit on that one?
So that one was around 30.
Okay. And then most recent one.
So I bought this one. I really love this neighborhood. This is the third house I put an offer on in the neighborhood, and they're all custom homes, and they're all built mid 70s, mid 80s, and they're kind of quirky and weird, and I just love them.
Yeah, I love quirky and weird.
And this house was, again, the margins were slim. Like I was like, and now I know better because I'm in your program at this point, and I was like, it's not the 10% ARV, but I really saw the potential in this house, and there were comps to prove that I knew I wouldn't lose money. So I was like, I wanted, and I knew that woman that owned the house was super meticulous, like handed over like multiple 3-ring binders of everything she'd done to the house. So I knew it was an awesome house. So that said, at my ARV, so I bought this house at, I bought it at 516, and my original ARV was 640. So my budget was crazy tight. I ended up putting in 50 grand. And then while I was in the throes of staging and doing my thing, I didn't notice a sale that happened that made my realtor think that I could list it at 700, or 699. So, and that's what's so crazy about real estate is like, well, there's 50 grand, or like
it's bananas.
It's bananas. And I know it can go the other,
right.
It can go the other way, but unlikely to go that far. But so I was never expecting to get anywhere near that. And then we did Coming Soon, and I got an offer at 60 over during the Coming Soon. And also the realtor was going to give me part of her commission, and they wanted to buy all the furniture. And then we ended up getting multiple offers around the 70 over ask. And then these people, the original people, raised their offer to 783. But then this became where I started feeling weird. I'm like, this is a lot of money. And I was just like, and my realtor, she kind of talks me off too, because sometimes she's like, not that you can be too generous, but she's like, no, Courtney, it's okay. But I ended up telling them, because the other offers are at 770, I sold it to them at 770, and I didn't take the realtor's commission because I realized how hard it is these days, trying to get people a house.
Right.
And I ended up giving them $5,000 worth of furniture.
That's amazing.
So
that's what felt good to you.
It felt good.
Yeah.
But again, almost froze me because I made about 150 on that one. It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah. That's incredible. Incredible profit. It's been so fun to talk to you. We're very similar.
I always think that listening to your podcast, I was like, I feel like I'd be friends with Debbie.
Yeah, right. Let's hang out, man. I love that. I just love that this community attracts who it attracts, which is women who want to do this in a way that isn't screwing everybody around. Right. We're not leaving people thinking they got a bad deal, or they were taken advantage of, or any of that negative stuff that just feels gross. We just go in, we love these houses, we keep things that we can keep, we replace things that we can't, and we just put a lot of heart into it. And it's not based on what's the cheapest thing to do. It's what's going to make this house, what is this house telling me? And I know that's so weird, but it's really, what is this house telling me?
Exactly. like the house is more of my client than me thinking of the buyers. Like, and that saves you money too, because you're like, how do I work with what's here rather than, well, the buyers down the street had the super modern whatever, and I just bought a craftsman and like trying to like, but it's like design for the house. And then you're also keeping the legacy of the house going and cool things happen.
Totally. And I think that's the thing though. People who are drawn to that style house, they are drawn to the design pieces, right? They're drawn to the things that make it unique and give it character, and they pay more for it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I mean, I'm still in the very much trial and error, but I'm like really seeing like, it's like, I almost want to get like my creative friends to do this too. Cause I was like, I flips can and should look better, you know?
Yes, totally. Hey, they are though. They really are. Like when I first started 2007, 2008, like, nope. I think there was me and maybe three others in Austin that were like loving the houses, not just doing the lipstick on a pig thing.
Yeah.
And now definitely more people are, for sure. But I mean, you can tell just by MLS photos, who's right. You can tell who's doing it right and who's going after the easy money, which is just gross. It's just gross.
Yeah. Yeah. But so I'm very appreciative of this program, and just like the feeling of not being that you're at it alone, just like, and just the immediate response you get to posting questions and just like having cheerleaders at all times too. Like everyone's very supportive.
Good.
And being part of a positive community that's doing something I truly believe is good. And so it's pretty cool what you created.
Oh my gosh. Well, thanks for coming to the party. Thanks for hanging out in the party.
Yes.
We've all co-created it. Like every single person who comes in just continues to co-create it. It's really beautiful. It's awesome. Yeah. I'm super grateful for the awesome women that find their way to us, for sure. Yeah. You included. I'm so glad that we were finally able to have this conversation. You just embody so much of the spirit here. Like, yeah, it's awesome. Thank you. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for sharing parts of your story.
Yes, of course.
Awesome, Courtney. All right. Thank you. Thanks for hanging out.
See you in the group.
Yeah. See you in the group.
Okay. Bye.
Such a great conversation. I told you we were going to cover a lot of ground, and we did. Thank you, Courtney. Again, that was really fantastic. I loved it. I love having the conversation of flipping houses in a way that's done with love and care, and not taking advantage of people, and letting everyone involved win, and letting our team shine, and doing the things that we enjoy doing and that we're good at doing, and getting to have time freedom and spending that time with friends and family and the people that we love, instead of at a job that's sucking the life out of us. Oh my gosh, so good. All right. It's totally possible to buy, renovate, and sell or rent houses in a way that feels good to you and is positive and adds value to people. All right. If you want to talk to us and see how we do that, that's our specialty, and see how we help women start flipping houses in any kind of market, and how we support women in doing that, go to herfirstflip.com and book a call to talk to us and see if we're a fit. All right? Until next time, go out there, flip houses like a girl, leave people and places better than you find them, and make it a great day.